caught up in all the hype. And if Tupac came back from the dead now to hear this interview, he would agree. They got caught up.
Me and Pac went in the studio and did a song together. And then them little dudes.
Outlaws.
Yeah. Outlaws. They came, like, as soon as we got there, they came up to Pac talking about, yo, Lauryn Hill dissed you, Mobb Deep dissed you, this and that, and So then Pac went in the studio and started writing about, I think it might have been that, I think it was. Yeah.
KRS-One is clearing the air about Big Daddy Kane and Tupac's bond, and trust me, the truth flips the whole script. People been running with this idea that Kane and Pac were enemies, but according to KRS, that's straight up false.
Tupac is a lyricist. See what I'm saying? It's just that he's not one of those lyrical MCs that spit stuff, but his stuff is, he spit deep lyrics that touch your soul.
These two actually had mutual respect, not beef. So why did the streets and the media make it feel like they were on opposite sides? That's where Suge Knight comes in. Suge had a reputation for stirring the pot, forcing his artists to choose sides, and pushing that East Coast versus West Coast chaos that kept the headlines hot and the money rolling in.
Didn't Eric B try to sign you to Death Row East at one point?
Yeah.
What happened with that?
He called and said, Suge trying to, build a Death Row East, man. I think it might be a good look for you. So I went out there, and like when I walked in, these two big-ass Rockwallers came, and then Suge, he comes out the back. They come running around, sniffing around me and stuff, sits down with his cigar, sits his cigar down and does this. And both the dogs ran and sat down next to him. So I'm like, okay, this one of them meetings. He said, well, what you want? A $400,000 advance. Why you ain't just simply say $500,000? Man, you Big Daddy Kane, man. I can't see myself signing you for less than $1 million. I gotta give you $1 million. Because you're already a household name. But then he was like, well, yo, look, I don't know how you doing financially, but if you want, I can just give you $100K in the morning. That's when I knew it was time to go. I was like, you just gonna give me $100,000 with no agreement? Nah, I was like, I'll let you know tomorrow. And then I went and switched my flight to like a 6 a.m. joint, got the fuck up.
Drama meant sales, and Suge knew exactly how to milk it. But Kane wasn't with the games. He wasn't about to let himself be used as a pawn in Death Row's chess match. Tupac, on the other hand, got pulled into it whether he wanted to or not.
Bottom line is that they got caught up in all the hype. And if Tupac came back from the dead now to hear this interview, he would agree. They got caught up in the hype. And Public Enemy prophesied, don't believe the hype. Don't believe the hype. And they got caught up. Biggie, they all got caught up, and it's a shame because we ain't supposed to go out like that.
And that's where the story got twisted. KRS even hinted that if folks ever thought there was smoke between Kane and Pac, it was because of manipulation, not reality.
Right? You being a respected lyricist, how you feel about the people that push the narrative and say that Tupac, he wasn't a lyricist?
Okay, but hold up. Tupac is a lyricist. See what I'm saying? It's just that he's not one of those lyrical MCs that spit stuff, but his stuff is, he spit deep lyrics that touch your soul. So I do consider Tupac a lyricist. You know what I'm saying? Even though his stuff is about substance, I do consider him a lyricist because it's like this here. You have to be lyrical to touch someone's soul, to make someone feel like, yo, I don't know this man, but he knows my pain. You see what I'm saying? So I do consider Tupac a lyricist.
At one point, Kane was even invited to link with Death Row, but he turned it down. That single decision instantly threw him into the storyline, like he was taking sides when all he really did was mind his business.
The mathematics, the 5% thing, you was kind of heavy in that, the knowledge itself. That was really woven into your rhymes when you first took off. When did you get introduced to that? Were you a 5%er or was you?
Yeah, absolutely. I think I believe that I was introduced. I want to say 81, 82, somewhere around here.
It's, with this knowledge itself and knowing who you are, when you came in the game and during that era, man, knowing who you were and where you came from was important, man. you got a lot of that from the 5% Nation and your teachings, the first 120 and all that?
Yeah, I mean, you just said it, knowing who you are, so I mean, when you study your lessons, you're learning your history and, your rightful place in history, and things of that nature. So that was something that was very informative and helped to mold and shape me as a better person.
And here's the part nobody talks about. Behind closed doors, Pac and Kane were cool. Back in the mid-90s, Suge Knight was on a power trip, plotting to expand his empire with Death Row East. It was supposed to be his master move to lock down the East Coast and flip the industry on its head. And who did Suge want as the face of this takeover? None other than Brooklyn's own heavyweight lyricist, Big Daddy Kane.
You can't say it's an East Coast, West Coast rivalry, number one. People will start to say it's an East Coast, West Coast rivalry because it was people that's trying to make money. It was true people trying to make careers. It was people trying to get famous. It was people hustling other people out of money on the East Coast. You don't have no team. You need us. We from the East Coast. Pay us X amount of dollars for protection. And some of these idiots was doing it. For us, how we looked at it is, we looked at it as we representing the West Coast, but we representing the ghetto.
Kane himself admitted that Suge came at him with a deal that sounded too good to be true. A $100,000 advance and a contract that could have shifted his whole career overnight. But Kane wasn't blinded by the dollar signs. He saw the trap. He flat out refused, saying he wasn't about to get caught up in that madness. He knew the industry game, and he knew Suge wasn't giving out six figures just to be nice. There were always strings attached, and Kane wasn't about to dance for the devil. That one decision turned Kane into a neutral figure during one of the most dangerous eras of hip-hop.
This place, this institution can never side with, come under, understand the exploitation of our culture. Never will you ever see me standing in the environment where our culture is being exploited. Or if you do see me there, the next moment this thing's gonna fall, I'm there to bring this shit down. If you see me in a situation like that, you should say, yo, watch out. Something's about to happen. Turn your cameras on. Something's about to go down. Why is Chris here? Why is he here? Something's about to, he gonna say some shit right now that is gonna,
The East Coast versus West Coast war. Suge might have wanted to pit Kane against Tupac as part of his chessboard strategy, but Kane wasn't biting. He refused to let himself be used in some manufactured rivalry, especially when the truth was that he and Pac actually respected each other. KRS-One has stressed this time and time again. Kane never had beef with Tupac, not once. If anything, Kane recognized Pac's brilliance early on and always showed him love, even when critics tried to downplay Pac's skills as a lyricist.
All of that happened afterwards was a ploy, and it was manufactured by Suge Knight.
When you say ploy, I don't know what a ploy means.
Here's the thing.
It was a game plan. Right. It was a game plan to get him to go over there.
It was a strategy.
So if you think about back then, Tupac got convicted of rape, he went to jail. That sucker, Kevin Powell, did an interview for Vibe. With Tupac.
The writer, Kevin Powell.
The light-skinned guy, I know. And Tupac said, Thug Life is dead. He said, I might be killed after this interview, but I want my truth to be known. Right? And he's doing the interview, right? Suge Knight goes to get him out of jail.
Oh, yeah.
When Suge Knight got him out of jail, it's the first time you heard Biggie and Puff did it. That whole East Coast, West Coast shit was manufactured by Suge. Suge did that shit.
But not the shooting. You're saying that.
No. I'm talking about
okay. Just to be clear.
The blaming of Puff and Big.
Yeah.
And then comes the story hardly anyone talks about. The lost track Kane and Pac cooked up together, Wherever You Are. It never officially dropped, But those who've heard snippets swear it's proof that Pac could spar bar for bar with a lyrical titan like Kane. Anyone claiming Pac wasn't a lyricist clearly never listened, because on that unreleased joint, he went toe-to-toe with a legend and held his ground.
That's a problem with Death Row and Suge Knight and Snoop and Tupac against me. It's a war. That's the most craziest thing I ever heard of in my life. I get no stripes for slapping a female. I don't hit women. Or I don't pray on the weak. So how I'm a war with a guy who ain't no man? You know, I don't have nothing against nobody out there who doing their thing. You doing your thing, you do it. But don't do an interview and say, well, the biggest war is between Death Row and my company. Death Row on a whole nother level. If they had a problem with us, we don't have a problem with nobody. Everybody know where we at 24/7. Either at the studio or at the office. If there's an event going on, we're gonna be the first ones in the front row having fun. At the Super Bowl, we're gonna be there betting and cheering. So we not the one high. And there's a lot of people who make up like stories to try to get themselves famous. Or get themselves some yellow power. That's the wrong way to do it. You know, if you're gonna do it right. If you're gonna be with Death Row, I one of these.
But their connection went deeper than music. What really tied Kane and Pac together was their link to the 5% Nation, also known as the Nation of Gods and Earths. This wasn't just some casual trend. It was a movement born in Harlem during the 1960s, built on the belief that Black people are the original people of the planet and that self-knowledge is the ultimate weapon.
The East Coast, West Coast thing, it just got out of control. Dudes was getting killed, and I felt responsible. But I couldn't stop it.
We ain't mad at the whole spot in New York, we just mad at certain people. I got this new project coming out along with some other brothers called One Nation, and it's like an East Coast, West Coast collaboration to kill this whole new vibe everybody want to be on about it being a war between the East Coast and the West Coast.
Right.
It's really just a problem with two rappers.
And the East Coast, West Coast thing is something that the journalists and people are making up just to get paid off it so it can drag out and everybody can have albums. They're perpetuating it so it could be drama. When it all go down, don't look at me and Biggie and be like, why is there a big East Coast, West Coast war when you're shooting this to 300 homes, 300 countries, telling them about an East Coast, West Coast war that they would never know exists. So that's where information becomes a problem. We both need to exercise greater restraint.
Damn.
Kane got into it back in the 80s, and you can hear it dripping through his rhymes. He sprinkled in teachings of supreme mathematics and supreme alphabet, codes that gave his bars that extra layer of sharpness. If you knew the science, his words hit even harder. Even on tracks like Wrath of Kane, you can catch the references if you're listening close enough. Now, Tupac's connection was different, but just as powerful. He wasn't officially part of the 5% Nation, but he was surrounded by its teachings. In Baltimore, he got exposed to the movement, and through his mother, Afeni Shakur, who lived and breathed revolution as a Black Panther. He absorbed those same ideas of empowerment, self-knowledge, and resistance against oppression. That energy bled into everything he touched, his music, his interviews, his very presence. So while the media wanted to paint Kane and Pac as enemies, the truth is they were walking the same path. They shared philosophy, vision, and a hunger to uplift their people. That mutual respect ran way deeper than the industry wanted us to see, and it set the stage for something even wilder. Suge Knight wasn't just running a label, he was running a whole narrative. Death Row was printing money, and Suge knew exactly what sold the most: pure chaos. Nothing moved records like Conflict, and that East Coast versus West Coast rivalry was the ultimate marketing machine. And the wild part? Suge wasn't just fueling it, he was engineering it. His move with Kane was slick but strategic. By dangling that Death Row East deal, Suge wasn't just offering money. He was trying to pull a respected East Coast legend into the West Coast storyline. If Kane signed, it would have looked like Pac had East Coast backing, flipping the whole rivalry upside down. But Kane saw through it and walked away. That decision didn't just save him, it made him unpredictable. To the public, Kane looked like the one man refusing to play sides in a war everyone else was trapped in. And when Suge was in control, even neutrality got spun like it was a bold statement. Tupac, though, he didn't get that option. Once he signed with Death Row, he became the face of Suge's empire, the poster child of the feud. Every headline, every interview, every diss track, Pac's fire got magnified by the machine behind him. The media ate it up and the labels pushed it harder, turning industry beef into national spectacle. But here's the truth, KRS-One kept shouting. A lot of that so-called tension wasn't organic at all. It was manufactured. Label execs and media outlets were cashing checks off the exploitation of Black artists. But here's the thing. Suge wasn't the only one fanning the flames of that East Coast versus West Coast war. The whole record industry in the 90s had its fingerprints all over it. Executives, A&Rs, even media outlets, they all had one thing in common: money. And nothing made cash flow like beef. Album sales, magazine covers, TV ratings, all of it spiked the second artists were pitted against each other. Behind the scenes, rappers were pressured to throw subliminals, diss each other in interviews, or worse, have their words twisted and edited to make it look like drama existed when it really didn't. Kane and Tupac are textbook examples. Two respected lyricists, both deep thinkers, both moving with integrity, and yet the industry packaged them like enemies, just to feed the machine. Suge and his circle knew exactly what they were doing. Fans craved conflict, and the media served it up on a silver platter, even if it meant rewriting reality. And let's be clear, it wasn't just Suge or Death Row pulling the strings. East Coast labels like Bad Boy had execs playing the same dirty game, stirring the pot from their side. But Suge, he had the spotlight and the muscle. His approach was louder, nastier, and built on fear, loyalty, and street power, so his fingerprint stayed the most visible. And that's where Tupac came in. With his firebrand personality and explosive temper, he became the perfect weapon for Suge's strategy. Pac's raw energy made the feud look real, even when the roots of it were staged. Meanwhile, Kane stayed calculated, refusing to let himself be used. But even his silence got twisted. The media spun his neutrality into a storyline, like he was secretly taking a side when all he really did was step back from the madness. It was never just about music. While fans and media locked in on the so-called beef, the industry was busy running bigger plays behind the curtain, locking artists into messy contracts, skimming off collaborations, and timing album drops to keep the hype alive. The East Coast versus West Coast feud wasn't just selling records, it was selling spectacle. It was selling power. And executives like Suge knew that controlling the story was just as profitable as controlling the songs themselves. And this right here is why the truth about Kane and Tupac matters so much. Their story proves that the history we've been fed about hip-hop isn't always real. It's edited, manufactured, and twisted to fit a narrative. Suge and the execs backing that machine cashed out, while the artists, the very people creating the culture, got stuck in the middle of a game they never fully controlled. Looking back, it's obvious now the East Coast versus West Coast war wasn't some natural rivalry. It was a scripted drama, built, staged, and sold. And Suge, he was one of the lead directors pulling the strings, deciding who got cast as the enemy and who got crowned the hero. Kane and Pac didn't fit that storyline, and that's exactly why their real bond rarely makes the history books. So now I gotta ask, what do you think? Was the East versus West feud really just a giant hustle for profit? Did Suge and the puppet masters in the industry manufacture the biggest beef in rap history? Drop your thoughts below, smash that like, hit subscribe, and share this with someone who needs to hear the real story. I'll see you in the next video.